What's going on, everybody? Zack Williams back with another episode for the Men in Uncaged. If you don't know, now you know. This channel is all about the journey to the top 1% and how do we get there. It's by becoming 1% better. And today, typically, I don't like to timestamp or constrain these episodes because I feel like this information can be valuable for a long time. However, with this one, I don't mind doing so because what I want to talk about is how you do one thing is how you do everything. And I want to use this as a pretty good segue into talking about our free 30-day challenge, which at the time of this recording is about to launch. So if you watch this podcast literally on Friday when it comes out, you have 48 hours to get your shit ready for our free 30-day challenge. It's inside the Uncaged free group. It's completely free to you. It's packed full of tons of actionable information with homework and downloadables and everything associated, as well as some real direct training videos and screen shares and screen recordings and step-by-step walkthroughs to allow you to start getting a little bit more creative with the things that you're doing both personally and professionally. It's absolutely incredible. If you're watching it after that, it is officially available for you to start day one right now. And part of that was what I want to talk about today, which is how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? And so with that said, it's allowing excuses to be thieves of your dreams. And so what do I mean by that? When we start to break down the 30-day challenge, we go through scientifically based on studies that are done, and we take statistics as well as psychology, and we apply it to the different lessons that we are trying to help train and educate people on, because we believe it's our mission in Uncaged to make information like this as accessible to as many people as possible, which is why we have a free group, as well as why we spent tons and tons of time, dedication, energy, money, development, creativity, editing, production, all to give it away for free. But part of that is getting over some of these limited beliefs and these excuses that people are allowing to come into their life. And so I wanted to kind of hint and give you a little bit of example of some of the information that you can look forward to inside of the free 30-day challenge, which is how do we take statistics and studies and really lock them into our brains to show like how important some of these things are. You know, it's really crazy to me. One of my buddies was the other sniper with Chris Kyle. Like, he's very, very big and involved with Echelon Front and Leif Babin as well as Jocko Willink. And I feel like I just told this story recently. So if it was on one of the podcasts, I apologize. If not, it is what it is. But, you know, for me, having that conversation with him about why do we do certain things inside the military, and it's not just like, sir, yes, sir, and like they go do it with blind faith. It's because once you start to internalize the mission and why we do what we do, you get bought in. You really, really get committed to seeing yourself, your team, and the ones that you want to win succeed, right? And so when I took that information, I was able to like really start digging deeper into the information education that we created with the 30-day challenge and figure out why. Like, we know the buzzwords, we know the cute quotes, but like, why really does this matter? And, you know, for those of you, when we originally created the foundation and the framework for the 30-day challenge, we basically, at the time of it, we had 18 months of data to be able to pull from the VIP Uncaged group of all the common denominators of things people are having issues with, things that they need to be trained on, things that they need to learn and apply, as well as 12 months of the free group. Not only that, we had 15 men that we pushed through our beta test for our BAP program and saw a lot of the common denominators there. So we said, man, like, not only is this like the top echelon of like bad motherfuckers that are trying to surround themselves with other like-minded men to focus on getting 1% better daily and take that journey to the top 1%. But like this, even out of them, this is the common denominators of issues that we're seeing. So how do we create something around us to solve those problems, put it out there for more men to learn from, and then we just continue surrounding ourselves with winners? And so we created it based on that. Well, then we started to take each individual topic that was covered and going back to what I was saying earlier, and we started to study, why do we do it? Like, what makes this important? Why would I need to internalize this? And so when it comes back to the topic of the episode, which is about like getting rid of the excuses, When you start to eliminate excuses from your day-to-day interactions, you actually increase your success rate by 50%. It's a 50-50 growth. It's a 50% growth, so 150%, whatever. Maybe you're stuck at 25%. Maybe you're stuck. Why would you not want to get to 75%? If you're constantly winning 50-50, what are some opportunities that you do to increase the chances of success by 50%? It's by eliminating excuses, because, again, how you do one thing is how you do all things. If you're willing to make an excuse not to go to the gym, you're willing to make an excuse to skip some steps when it comes to writing that proposal. When you skip some steps to write that proposal, it gives you the more chances to make an excuse to not do the dishes for your wife and just not to do this, not to do that. It starts to eliminate 50% of your opportunities. So when you start to get rid of making those excuses, how would your life change if you had the opportunity to see a 50% growth in the way that you operated as far as a success level? It's an incredible number for me. Like, I mean, you know, again, Uncaged, like we are constantly putting one foot in front of the other. So it's that 1% daily, but 50%, wow. What would that do for you, right? The next is like, it's kind of obvious. Like when you start to make excuses, it allows procrastination to grow inside of your life by 75%. And a lot of us, again, going back to cutting out the excuses, I used to be that same way. I used to make excuses. I work well under pressure. But yeah, pressure. And then everything you're doing, you're constantly adding, and you're constantly waiting till the last minute, right? And you're trying to add in this pressure and add in this pressure and add in this pressure. And you keep doing that. Eventually, you're going to get burned. And it's going to hurt some people in a very tough way. Trust me, I know. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. And part of that, like, to take into consideration, when you live that kind of a lifestyle, making excuse after excuse after excuse, now what you're doing is you're telling yourself that you aren't confident in your own words, that you don't, as a man, you don't even believe the words that you're saying. And when you start to do that, it actually increases your stress levels by 20% and your anxiety levels by 30%. For some of you, you might not have any stress or anxiety to spare. So like you going out and making these excuses allows this type of behavior into your lifestyle. You're literally saying, you're welcoming 20% more higher stress levels and 30% higher anxiety levels, because you're not man enough to stop making excuses. You're not man enough to be a man of your word. You're not man enough to do what the fuck you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. So like, at what point do we realize, like, who is in control? Because clearly you're not in control. You're allowing your excuses to be in control. You're allowing outside influence to be in control. You're allowing your spouse, your coworkers, your boss, your employees, your children. You're allowing other people to be in control of you because you're not man enough to stop making excuses. Now, obviously, inside of Uncaged, we're very big on relationships, very big on, you know, the connection and the team that it needs to be as what your relationship with your spouse is, as well as obviously your children and your employees and your coworkers and your bosses, whatever the case is. But when you start to allow certain things to be an excuse, and you know the difference between an excuse and not, when you start to do that, like, you're giving up your fucking man card, because you're not man enough to stand up for yourself to yourself. You're not man enough to say that I am the kind of guy that when I say I'm going to fucking do something, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. It actually hurts your relationships, and that word is holistic. So that's, you know, platonic. That's your friends. That's your family. That's your loved ones. That's your coworkers, employees. When you make excuses, it actually detrimentally impacts the power of those relationships by 30%. It's almost a third. Like, why would you take that risk? Why would you take that risk? And not only that, the one that, like, you know, breaks my heart even more, and I know I've talked about this recently, and I believe it was on a podcast. So, you know, again, this is just kind of reiterating this, but it creates a lack of trust by 25% in the way other people perceive you. You know, the comment that I mentioned was, you know, I've got people in my phone. Why they're still in my phone is actually probably a pretty good question. And it's probably something that I should probably just consider removing completely. But I know that I can't rely on them anymore. I can't count on them. I can't send them a text message or call them something and ask them something, and I cannot definitively know that it's going to get accomplished. Whereas there's some bad motherfuckers in my phone. I know no matter what time of the day I call, I know no matter what it is that I need, I know no matter even if I'm show up or involved or would ever even know if it got accomplished, that I could call and it would be done. No questions asked. No follow-up needed. No hand-holding necessary. Who do you want to be in someone else's phone? Do you want to be the contact that they probably should fucking delete? Or do you want to be the one that they know that they can trust? It literally affects it the way other people look at you by 25%. And this study showed it's not just interactions that they have directly with you. It's the type of motherfucking person you are. How you do one thing is how you do everything. If I see you not pushing your fucking grocery cart back at a grocery store, if I see you walking past someone who needs some help, if I see your fucking child or your spouse earning for your attention and you just ignoring them, making up an excuse that you're too busy for it, you're too this, you're too that, whatever, and not being a good person, not doing the right thing, pushing it off, procrastinating it, pretending like it doesn't matter, pretending like it's not as important as it really is, whatever that is, whatever that excuse, that angel and that devil is that's on your shoulder, every time you give in to that, it doesn't matter if it's something that directly impacts me or affects me or not. It shows me who you are as in your character, to your fucking soul. So why would I call you? I now officially only trust you 75% of the way. That's based on statistical averages. Me, high performer, or someone that doesn't make excuses, they don't have the ability to take a risk on that, especially considering potentially the way they operate. Because if I go and vouch for you and you don't fulfill what it is that you say you're going to do, it looks bad on me, and I take that personally. Now me and you got beef, bro. You made me look bad because I ain't going to let you look bad. Part of that setting proper expectations, I'll give it to you. Setting proper expectations. Maybe it's a fucking no. Maybe it's not a no. Maybe it's a not right now. Or maybe it is, hey, here's a realistic time frame and a realistic expectation that you can have associated to whatever this conversation is. But I'm not going to make you look bad. I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to put every fucking excuse aside. I'm going to get this shit done. That procrastination increasing by 75%, that's insane. And again, I used to have that excuse. So I work well under pressure. I forgot who originally made the comment, but like I refer back to it pretty regularly in my own day-to-day life. Like, don't put off until tomorrow what can be done today. Now, obviously, you have priorities, family, time, this, that, whatever. And you know, again, if you go through the 30-day challenge, like time blocking and schedules for things and specific times for specific tasks, and there's rules. But if it is something that falls in line with what I need to be doing and the processes that I need to be holding, then I need to make sure that I stick to my guns. I set the excuses aside and I become stronger than those excuses. That's what I need to be doing. The next thing that I want to talk about, which is probably arguably the most scary, is when it comes to excuses, there's two that are, I think, are equally as terrifying for me, especially considering on behalf of where we are in the world today, but more specifically, like the stance Uncaged has in the world and the movement that we're trying to create, is when you start making excuses. Okay? I want you to hear me out. When you start to make excuses, you increase your level of mediocrity by 50%. Mediocrity. Can you imagine, like, trying to go fuck your wife and you're like, what's up, babe? It's your boy. I make excuses. And I've increased my mediocrity level by 50%. Let's fucking go. The fuck is wrong with you, bro? Stop making the excuses. It is that important. This is your fault. Stop making excuses. You are only growing your level of mediocrity. And then the last thing, and this is again, mediocrity, that's a hard word to swallow, especially 50%. But the last one is equally as fucking terrifying for me, especially everything that we talk about in the 30-day challenge and what it's like to look forward to that future version of yourself that, like, you can't control the past. The past made you who you are today. All you can control is the present. But when you control the present, you're also affecting the future, and that future version of yourself, the future version of your family, the future version of everyone that depends on you, where they're supposed to be there waiting on you. You making those excuses affects them in a negative way. And not only that, when you finally end up, now this isn't necessarily, the statistic isn't necessarily on your deathbed, but this is how polarizing I want to be with this, because it's throughout your day-to-day life. We've talked about stress. We've talked about anxiety. We've talked about depression. We've talked about really bad things as far as, like, how excuses allows those devils to come get in your way. But what I really want to talk about is what a living hell you would be in, because this is where the statistic is going. I'm going to take it polarizing and talk about it on your deathbed. But the statistic is even scarier because it talks about your day-to-day life. But it increases your regret by 50%. Making excuses. Like, how do you wake up with yourself? Like, when you wake up and you know that, like, you're a man that makes excuses about everything, or excuses regularly to the statistics, but, like, you wake up and you're like, are you excited for the day? What about when you go to sleep? What are you thinking about? All the shit that you made excuses about? Not only that, like, on your deathbed, you making excuses right now, imagine you're increasing your level of it's a 50-50 of when you die that you look back and regret the life that you created. Again, I'm taking the polarizing view on this because the statistic is day to day. One day you're going to wake up and you're going to be fucking filled with regret. The next day, maybe not. The next day, regret. Next day, maybe not. What a miserable life. Considering the fact that this is something that you can control so easily. How you do one thing is how you do everything. Just stop making excuses. Stop hitting the fucking snooze button. Stop skipping the gym. Stop not tracking your critical tasks. Stop not fucking doing the dishes for your fucking wife. Stop not spending quality time with your children. Stop not doing the shit that you know you're supposed to be doing for your coworkers or your employees. Like, what the fuck are you doing with your life, bro? Who are you pretending to be? Because a motherfucker full of regret ain't it. Guys, this is the quality of stuff that, like, obviously we're way more intentional with what the action steps and the homework and the structure of the 30-day challenge that we've created. But, like, there's statistics that back all this shit up. Like, we're not just making this up. We're not just blowing smoke up people's asses. We're not doing this for ulterior motives. We are on mission here in Uncaged to make this type of information as accessible to as many people as possible. And this is part of the journey. So I need you to get into Uncaged, into the free group. I need you to take the 30-day challenge. I need you to take it seriously, because this shit right here, the excuses that you're fucking making, is going to affect your life in this very real way. So stop fucking doing it. You owe it to yourself, and I don't want to see you fucking regret the life that you're created. I'll see you inside the free 30-day challenge. We'll talk soon.